you can't be brave if you're not well. There's also that aspect that's linked to it. And being well is not just what I eat, what I look like, and I exercise. Wellness is also mental.
Yeah.
Are the things that I'm consuming, the things that I'm telling myself on a day-to-day basis, the boundaries that I allow people to break, that break me. What is my mental health like? What are the things that I'm allowing that I actually shouldn't be?
Anything that is to be created in the physical requires first a mental creation, then a physical creation. Welcome to episode 3. From glass ceilings to corner offices, women leaders transforming the game. I am privileged today to have with me Nomonde White Ndlovu, the CIO of Bidvest Bank, with a stellar career that spans across multinational giants like Absa Group, British American Tobacco, and UCS Solutions. Nomonde has been a driving force in shaping the tech landscape. As a former head of governance, risk and compliance at Absa and joint CIO for their infrastructure services, she's navigated complex challenges with unmatched expertise. Nomonde is also the chairperson of the Wired for Women, where she champions the upliftment and recognition of women in technology, passionately advocating for gender parity in the workplace. Her commitment to excellence is further highlighted by her Golden Key honorary membership from the University of Witwatersrand and her role as a One Young World Ambassador since 2015. Armed with an MBA from the Gordon Institute of Business Science, a BA Law from WITS, and advanced courses from MIT, Harvard, and the London School of Economics, Nomonde is a dynamic leader with a focus on business strategy, leadership, and organizational efficiency. Her journey is one of relentless pursuit of innovation and excellence. Let's dive in and learn from her incredible experiences. Nomonde, welcome. We're talking about allyship. We're talking about building strong communities around us. What would you say are some of the benefits of building strong communities, emulating? What do we do? You talk about being led by a great human being who happens to be a woman. We also know that there are women that lead teams that do have Queen Bee syndrome. Talk to us a little bit about Queen Bee syndrome and how damaging that might be.
Sure.
And what do we do to get ourselves out of that mind frame?
It always saddens me, like when women talk about not liking to work for other women because of the experiences that they have, from other women. Because if anything, I feel like as difficult as corporate South Africa is, and we can own that fact, harder when you're a woman and you're trying to carve your way up, because most of these tables are dominated by men. So I want to firstly start by acknowledging that. And often when you get to the table, hopefully not so much now, you'll start off by being the only one who's around that table. And then the scars that you carry, you still hold onto them. And then we assume that everyone who's coming after you must bear the brunt of the same scars. As opposed to saying, the school fees I've paid, I don't want you to pay that school fees. I should be making it easier for you. In fact, I'm going to send the lift down to fetch you. So you don't have to navigate through the same nonsense that I actually had to deal with.
Yeah.
So that you can actually get to the table and collaborate. And as much as men will gather outside of work, because a lot of the stuff that you might talk about at Exco goes outside of Exco in terms of planning. So whether that's over golf, over a drink on the weekend at their houses, decisions are made sometimes outside of the office. So it's important to not assume that that's the case when you're a woman. And it's also important to, from time to time, and I'm not saying go play golf. I can't stand golf. I don't play it. I mean, I have committed to learn. I don't think that's going to happen. I'll probably just go to the spa at the golf club, but that's neither here or there. There are other activities you can participate in.
Yes.
Like if people are going for dinner, go to that dinner once in a while so that you are not discounted from the conversations that are actually happening in those spaces. Now, when there's another woman and there's more women that actually come in and then you get to a point of parity, my goodness, the activities can be a spa day. Why must it always be like a golf day? You then have the prerogative to have a balanced view of how we have these conversations outside of this ecosystem. I happen to be like a connector. I enjoy people. And I believe in breaking bread with people that I actually work with because I think it's important to build real and authentic relationships because we spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
And I think what's been useful and helpful, fortunately, is that, you know, you can take out a bottle of wine and we can sit and we can get a meal and we can talk. So it doesn't always have to be an outside space. So that's actually helped.
Yeah.
To being able to bring people together has helped me to stay connected with the men and women inside my team. And in as much as, you know, like from a leadership perspective, you're not supposed to see eye to eye all the time. If you do, there's something wrong that you're actually doing.
Correct.
Because the intention is to be able to ventilate issues to get to the best solution for the organization and business that we are working for. And I work with wonderful women, Hannah, Palesa, and Refilo, and I worked with Martha. But at that exco table, you know, like we're able to disagree, right?
Yeah.
But then it never becomes personal. And I know that, or you know as well, that I will always have your back, even if we disagree in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to go outside and someone is talking smack and I'm going to agree with that smack. You know, I'm going to shut it down.
Yeah.
You know, and build you up in those moments. So it's important to not want to be alone because the Queen Bee syndrome suggests that you must feel me. When I'm here, you must feel me. You must feel that I am the boss of this ship and you cannot tell me anything. And if you want to get to anything, you must, you know, go through me first. That's how that behavior rhetoric is. Yeah. But it's very lonely. Yeah. Like if you choose to live that kind of life and you don't want to be friends with other women and collaborate and build other women and just be a girl's girl, that life is very lonely because one, no one wants to be around you because you are so unpleasant. And the other thing that we actually don't say, people with Queen Bee syndrome leave dead bodies as they move because to get to the top, and they are, obviously you don't get a C-suite role without being excellent at what you do. Yeah. Okay, that's arguable. I mean, things happen, but generally it's because you have a proven track record of delivery. Yeah. The problem is when you get there and there's no one around you and you're left or right who will talk to you. Because let's be fair, people actually like good people. Yeah. When you're not a nice person, the men around you also don't want to be around you. Yeah. They don't invite you to things. And it just becomes a process where you're struggling and your voice is not amplified in those spaces. No one cares about what you have to say. Yeah. Versus if you choose to build others so that they don't experience the things that you actually have had to go through, you'll probably have greater support, not just from the men around you who advocate for each other, but even from the women that you're actually bringing up who want to see you win. If anything, I think I fundamentally believe in surrounding myself with people who are way smarter than me. Yeah. Because when you are surrounding yourself with people who are competent and smarter than you, the decisions you make will be phenomenal and the things that you guys can do as a team will be great. If I'm the smartest one in the room, I'm in the wrong room. And I don't want to be in that room. I really don't. Yeah. And I pray that for those who are listening, who are struggling with the Queen Bee syndrome, I hope you find healing. Yeah. And I hope you find community at some point. And I hope that you also get forgiveness from people that you may have hurt, but it's unintentional when you've actually done that. And I really hope for all of us to actually have community of women around us. I don't believe in the notion of saying that I prefer hanging out with men because it's just easier to deal with. I have a lot of male friends. I have a lot of respect for them and I adore them. Yeah. But I love women. And I think the things the struggles and the challenges that you go through as women are so different from what men would go through. And a man would not understand that. And I mean, if we talk about and I suspect I'm going to get there soon, like as an example, menopause. Yeah. Imagine you're leading your menopausal, like you're struggling through this whole stuff. Your nerves are all over the place. There's pills you need to take John is not going to get that, I'm having a really rough day, like, leave me alone for a moment. I just need to breathe.
Correct.
A man's not going to get that. If there's another female executive there who happens to be maybe older than me, but they've gone through this journey, they can give me advice of what pills do you need to take to actually feel better. So I fundamentally would advocate for female leaders to become girls. Because when you have a community that's rooting for you, it makes life easier. And I'm just going to talk, for Wired for Women was actually an advisory board that was created. I have the privilege of actually sitting on an advisory board of trailblazers, executives who are women in the technology space, but doing amazing things. And really the intention of why we have set this up and why we do what we do is because we have a recognition of it's hard to actually grow up the ladder, but there are soft things that you don't teach women as they actually need to grow. And part of that is how do you manage upwards? But not just upwards with your line manager, but like 3 levels up. Because the people who are going to sponsor you are there to actually make decisions of giving you complex opportunities which are actually going to help you grow. Topics that we never talk about, like as women, because we shy away from them, politics, because it exists everywhere. And if you're not participating, your lack of participation is participation. What does that mean in corporate spaces? What does it mean to amplify your voice and finding community of people who will actually do that for you? How do you negotiate for money without it becoming an emotional conversation because it needs to be data-led? But we have to pay it back. So you can't just sit in your spaces and not say, okay, it's tough out here, but I'm going to help you. We're going to talk through the tools so that you don't have to struggle with this stuff. You don't have to struggle with this stuff. So, and I know it happens because we're human. And when you've been beaten and battered and you've gotten to the top, eventually it's like, shoo, I've made it. I don't have the time and energy to help anybody else. I really hope that you get to a point of healing and you fix that mindset.
It's been so fabulously framed, this queen bee syndrome, around what that individual might be going through and why they behave in that manner. The unfortunate thing is that, as you said, there are dead bodies all around us if we choose to continue in the queen bee syndrome. What I often find when I engage those individuals, I find, and a lot of other women share that sentiment with me, and in our conversation, I think that we shared that as well, where when you encounter these women that do suffer from queen bee syndrome, is they feel threatened. And they feel threatened because they themselves feel insecure about who they are, how they've landed, where they've landed, and perhaps an insecurity around their capability. So they want to be the smartest in the room just in case somebody else shows them up. So, what I really appreciate is your advice to women that recognize those tendencies in themselves is pause for a moment. Think about your action. You don't have to push other people down. Let them know that you've paid the school fee already. You don't need to go through that. Let me help you up, because it is lonely up here.
It is.
And it is our job when we're up there. I always say to leaders when I'm engaging with them, the number one job of a leader is to develop other leaders.
100%.
If we are not doing that, then we're not leading.
Absolutely.
If we're not making an effort to deliberately create bench strength of leaders in our ambit, then we're not fully engaging in our role as leaders.
Absolutely.
How do we do that? What are the things we should be looking for? How do we create that, the girls club? We hear about the boys club, right? Why not a girls club?
Absolutely.
Why are we shy to advocate for another girl? What holds us back from that?
Yeah.
Have we ever, given thought to what prevents me from advocating for another woman? And part of that process is, the work that we do, and we've recently just partnered as well with the Liz Wiseman Group. And part of that work is to help other women and help people, help leaders recognize when to play big, when to play small, how to amplify the voices around so that I'm not the only voice to be heard, so that others can hear some of those great thoughts that are in your mind. How do I create a platform where women can be authentic, that I don't have to be a man just because I've now landed in the C-suite? How have you navigated some of that, Nomonde, in, you are sitting on the board of White, for you're the chairperson for White for Women, an organization designed specifically for women in tech. How have you managed to get to those kind of spaces so that you can make room for other women? What have you done differently?
So one, I think, thanks for the question. I've had women advocating for me my entire career. It's starting from Jane Canny when I moved from a first-line help desk agent to becoming a junior service delivery manager, and Alice Marks teaching me everything she knew. Those were women. And it would be irresponsible for me and remiss to not, even from that moment, to not pay it forward and do the same way that women actually played their part, in my life and for me. And I've always been of the view that I'll say yes before I say no if another woman asks me for help, because I was actually helped. So that's my first parting shot. So if a woman asks for help, I'm always going to, what do we need to do? What is it that is the problem? How do I help with this? And if there's a way that I can help, I'm going to help. But I realize over time, I think the older you get, the busier you get. It becomes harder to actually try and be everything to everyone. So it's like if I'm going to choose to mentor people, it's with intentionality, because there's some shift you need to get in your career, which might require one-on-one time, because the issue that you're dealing with, I've dealt with it. So let me help you through it. And in that work, it really is around, let's be results orientated in terms of what we're trying to achieve. So whether it's moving you from being a senior manager to an executive, I know how to do that transition, so I can help you with that.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of some of the women I've worked with who are now like executives over time. But I need to be an equal participant as much as you are, because it can't be up to me to help you with your career. You have to actually own your career.
Yeah.
And I will show up in a way that you need me to show up, and I'll be as invested as you are, because I can't be more invested in what you want for your career and your life than you are as a person. But I will do whatever it takes to actually ensure that you then become successful. And then we just realize, like, over time, and I just want to thank, the partners who've partnered with us, which is Brainstorm, IT Web, as well as BCX, who understand the importance of actually being able to be advocates for women and how actually we help women actually grow their careers. But you sometimes you can only do this as a community. So what we do sometimes, there's events that we'll host from time to time, and then there's online sessions that we'll have, because that's a bigger reach versus having one-on-one conversations with people. Yeah. You want to be able to reach more people. I've now also I just need to edit it. My MBA, I did a concept called Breaking Bread While Breaking Boundaries, where I actually wanted an opportunity to bring executives around lunch or dinner table with a protagonist who are struggling through career issues and things. Yeah. So they can have direct conversations with the people, but then broadcast it so it reaches more people. Nice. Yeah. So because I'm time poor, and I think all of us are now time poor, I'm trying to tap into opportunities to reach women. This is another beautiful opportunity, so thank you for the invitation. Because sometimes you actually can't split yourself into 10,000 pieces. And like I said earlier, now my weekends are becoming ring-fenced. Well, it's Sunday now, but eventually it will be more. And I suspect as I get older, because I know I want to get off social media, like, altogether, and just have a different focus, because it can sometimes be anxiety inducing. And because I'm the type of person who feels like I must respond to everybody who sends me a message because I don't want to be rude, it's just easier if you switch off. So I think I'll be on it for the next 2 years, and after that I'm out.
Yes.
Like completely, to actually be able to focus on other career ambitions that I have for myself as well as my children. So this is like a countdown, and I'm turning 40 in a couple of days as well. So I'm doing a collaboration of my life of what stays, what worked in the past decade, what didn't work, what are we taking forward, what are we not taking forward. But I'll always be like an advocate for women. And the reason why I want to also do this and why I'm so intentional is I've also been there, where you're underpaid and you feel undervalued.
Yeah.
And I know what it took to actually get to a point of being able to have like structured conversations around pay parity and how I improve what I was actually earning. I want to share that information because I fundamentally feel that when women are paid well, they impact communities.
Yeah.
And it's not just their immediate ecosystems.
Yeah.
And I really, really would want for all women to move into their soft life era where you're actually living a beautiful life, where you can afford the things that you actually want to afford.
Yeah.
We should not like perpetuate like being broke, and living from paycheck to paycheck without finding smarter tools and mechanisms of how we can actually generate money and build wealth creation for ourselves while we are in comfortable ecosystems. I really feel like being a woman is sometimes one of the hardest jobs. So if you can have extra money to have that extra help where someone's going to tutor your kid or someone's going to help you clean the house, I want you to have it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think my go-to position has always been yes before I say no.
Yeah.
The problem though, Malini, that we also we don't talk about, right, is someone will ask you for 30 minutes, but there's no plan around what you're going to talk to me about.
Yes.
It's just that you just saw me and then you want to talk to me. And then I say yes.
Yes.
And then the yes shocked you. But now when I open the chat with you, I'm like, so lovely to meet you. So how can I help you? Because I'm very direct. I'm going to get straight to the point.
Yes.
And then you tell me that the weather's great. You've wasted an opportunity. So the advice I'd want to give to anyone who's hoping, because let me tell you, the reality is most people will say yes before they say no. A lot of us will actually say yes because we want to help.
Yes.
The heart of life is good. And the hearts of many leaders that I know personally are great. And they want to serve, they want to help. But because a lot of the time, people are perceived to be not approachable, people genuinely don't. So when somebody does, you actually then say yes.
Yeah.
And then it shocks someone. I would ask anyone, before you approach that person, this concept of an elevator pitch in 30 seconds. Be able to close that deal for yourself around why this person must meet you and what you would want from them, because people are time poor. They generally don't have time. And when they give you 30 minutes, ensure for yourself it's impactful so that you benefit something from it. And I found, and it's, those are conversations which probably will not happen again because you've wasted 30 minutes of your time and I haven't been able to contribute anything positive to you. And because you saw it was a waste of time, you're not going to have the courage to reach out to me again for a conversation. So just be intentional with what you want for your life. And when you are reaching out to people, be intentional, be clear around what you want. If anything, I would prepare for that and say, these are the things that I'd actually like to discuss with you, because you also force me to prepare for my conversation with you.
Correct.
And I'm actually more excited to talk to people like that because I feel like after we're done with this conversation, something great is actually going to happen in your life. And because I want all women to win, I actually want to be able to ensure that I deal with the things that you have given me to ensure that your life becomes better after meeting with me. I never want to leave people worse off after talking or communicating with me.
See, what you have just said is absolutely profound as we think about when we're out there on social media, or, you're at an event and you listen to a person speak, or you think, oh, I have seen this person at this event, I've got to go up to them and speak to them. And you go there and you say, hi, my name is, and so preparation is so important. But what I want to link from what you've just shared, and I'm hoping that once again the listeners are going to pick this, is the intentionality of living your life by design as opposed to living life by default. So what do I mean by that? Every single engagement and interaction could really be part of a bigger design, right? So I love this quote. It's by a basketball coach that says, whenever you see a man on top of a mountain, you can be sure he didn't fall there.
True.
It's intentional.
Yes.
It's deliberate. So when you think about your life and you think about on being on top of this mountain, you've got to be intentional. You've got to be deliberate. You've got to live that picture of being on this mountain by design as opposed to by default. So when you think about those networks that we lean into to grow our careers, to have better career paths, better lives, how have we thought about it? How have we planned for it? How have we become intentional to bring this person's energy and all into my space so that I can have that? Everything in life, and you will see it in our 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Habit 2 talks about beginning with that end
In mind.
in mind. How are we doing that? One of the things that we spoke about, Nomonde, in our preparation conversation was this idea that perhaps when we find ourselves in these really senior roles, the thing that we struggle with the most, at the beginning of our conversation, we spoke about moving away from the idea of work-life balance to work-life integration. We spoke about mental well-being, physical well-being. The thing that people are struggling with as well, whether we're men or women in the workplace, is resilience. As we navigate that, and, we're moving closer towards the close of our conversation, talk to us a little bit more around resilience and dealing with that. What are some of the coping mechanisms?
Sure, resilience is a topic that seems to be coming up quite a lot, to your point, because of what men and women are navigating through, because life has just been hard lately. And my offer on the topic of resilience really comes down to, resilience is linked to mental fortitude. You actually can't separate the two.
Yeah.
Because it's tied into the ability of being able to fall down and pick yourself up from challenges that you are navigating through, and to live to fight another day, to find something within you that's going to say, it's okay. I know that I feel this is not great, but I'm going to try again.
Yeah.
To be able to pick yourself up from failure requires very strong mental fortitude to actually be able to do that. However, in order to have strong mental fortitude, you need to be brave to do that, because you have to root yourself on when no one else is cheering for you. You have to be brave enough to pick yourself up to try again.
Yeah.
However, you can't be brave if you're not well.
Yeah.
There's also that aspect that's linked to it. And being well is not just what I eat, what I look like, and I exercise. Wellness is also mental.
Yeah.
Are the things that I'm consuming, the things that I'm telling myself on a day-to-day basis, the boundaries that I allow people to break, that break me. What is my mental health like? What are the things that I'm allowing that I actually shouldn't be allowing? Where I need to actually start setting boundaries, because my mental fortitude and strength has been stripped away over time to a point where I cannot be resilient and I cannot be brave because I'm not well. So what do I mean by this? Often, because of the plight of likability, which we spoke about earlier, I will concede to things I shouldn't concede to because I want to be liked by people. I'll say yes when I should be saying no, right? And I'll give a silly example of, let's say there's a cake and candy at school, but instead of you being able to buy it, they want the moms to bake. Now, you've got bored the next day, and because you want to be nice, I'm like, sure, I'll bake. But that sure, I'll bake I didn't want to say that. Now when I get home, I'm banging pans, I'm mixing in a rough way because I know I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
It's a boundary I let someone interrupt. And now I'm fueled with rage. And these cupcakes are not full of joy and sunshine. They're full of tears and like being mad, you know? And I've now created tension in my household where something I should be doing with my child, which is fun, she's now sad because mommy is upset and she's not excited to actually do this.
Yeah.
And what I want all of us to know is that no is a full sentence. And if someone is going to say, but why? You can say, because I don't want to, or because I cannot do it at this time. Right? Because I don't have the capacity to do that right now. But we don't do that because we don't want to disappoint people. It's human nature to actually want to be good and to not want to actually disappoint people at your own personal detriment, to a point where, you know, I end up being a pretzel. And now, my goodness, I can't get out of these shapes that I've bent myself into. I don't even know who I am anymore. Because I've chosen to be who you expect me to be. And it's unfortunate that when people describe women and a good woman, she's a great mom, she's a great wife, she's a great friend, right? The moment you say, you know, once a month, I take time out to myself, I go to the spa, I want no one around me because I need to replenish me. It's not looked at with joy. In fact, it's frowned upon because we are not allowed to plow back into ourselves. But I can't give from an empty cup. So there has to be certain things in your own life which are non-negotiables for you in order to build up your mental fortitude. Because if you don't do that, you cannot be brave, you cannot be resilient. The other thing we actually don't talk about is the relationships around us. And the ones that are toxic that we're not breaking away from because someone has been in your life for 15 years. But every time they see you and you're always happy for their achievement, they're always breaking you down. Oh, you think you can do it, you can't do that. And in fact, they mess with your nervous system. When you're around them, you are anxious. You're clawing away at your mental fortitude. And you've chosen to keep that person in your circle who makes you feel bad about who you are, who breaks down your confidence every time they are with you. Because we never think that we have the right to have strategies for our own lives. And from time to time to revisit my life KPIs to say, who's staying in my circle? Who am I removing in my circle? Who's not healthy for me? Who I don't feel good around? Because every time I leave that person, I'm drained. And I feel like small and I shrink into someone that I'm not. We don't cut things out that actually don't serve us. So we end up giving of ourselves to people who don't deserve it. Because we've just made it okay for you to actually be able to speak to me like that and make me feel like that. But the reality is, you're the CEO of your own life. You hire and you fire, as you should. And if your mental well-being is being tested because of toxic relationships that you allow in your life, I think it's time to actually recheck and rethink around what is it that's not making me brave, where I'm not resilient, I'm not able to pick myself up whenever I experience challenges. What is it in my life that's actually causing this? Reflect on that, because all of us should truly have a vision for our lives in terms of this is the utopia I want to actually get to, right? But I think while having that vision, and I think I heard this video, I'll remember who I heard, but anyway, it really spoke around, like, be clear on the vision and be fiercely, violently protective of the vision for your life, but be flexible on the details. Like how you're going to get there can actually shift and navigate. And if that flexibility means that I remove toxicity to actually get there, you need to do that, because the one certainty is death. All of us are going to, and depending on your belief system, you might be going to heaven. I'm Christian, so I hope to go to heaven. I hope to live a life that will honor God and allow me to get there one day. But I really, really, I'm advocating this for myself, to live a full life of purpose, which is healthy. I want to live most of it very, very happy. So that by the time, I close my eyes, I have no regrets over how I treated people, how I lived my life, how I engaged with myself and my ecosystem, and how I was intentional about doing things that genuinely make me happy in every aspect of my life. And this whole notion of hyper-independence is dangerous. And again, could be something we talk about another time. Because then the assumption that I can do all things, I can't. I've decided I can't. And I've decided that I'm moving into an era where treat me like I'm fragile. Because I am fragile. And things that are fragile, you treat with care.
Correct.
The day of being the toughest soldier, the strongest soldier on the line. I don't want to be that. I deserve gentleness. I really do. And I want to treat people the same way. And I want to do this because I want to build up my mental fortitude. I want to be brave. I want to be well. But I appreciate that being well is going to require my mental well-being to be protected first and foremost so that I can become resilient. So if something bad happens at work, and I've had a tough week this week, probably one of the worst weeks of my life this week, but I can sit here and smile and have a great time with you.
And you look great.
Oh, thank you. I'm not bringing it into this conversation because it was a moment in time which wasn't wonderful, but it doesn't mean that the rest of my life is not great.
Yeah.
Because all of it is.
Yeah.
But when we don't have mental fortitude, I would have come into this conversation with that.
Yeah.
So that's why I think all of us must be violently protective of our mental well-being. And when you know it has been depleted, it's okay to ask for help so you can build it up again and become more resilient with time.
Such absolutely fabulous nuggets that you have shared there around being resilient requires of us to be quite deliberate and being aware of what our mental fortitude looks like. You know, I've had the privilege of many years for the very first time getting exposed to the 7 habits of highly effective people that you're familiar with. And part of that is it's such an amazing toolkit to build that mental fortitude, that to be brave, to have, begin with that end in mind, having a real vision for myself. Anything that is to be created in the physical requires first a mental creation, then a physical creation. You speak about super individuality. What we learn as well is that, yes, independence is necessary, but it is insufficient in an interdependent world.
Yeah.
And whilst we recognize the strength of an interdependent world, it's not about the popularity contest. It's not about likability. What I really value, what you have shared, Nomonde, and once again, I'm hoping that our listeners will walk away with this, is knowing that actually I am the CEO of my own life. I can hire and fire whoever I choose to be in this space. I can choose whether I allow you to push me past those boundaries or not. And what I appreciate what you've shared is that no is a full sentence. No is a full sentence. I'm going to steal that from you, actually.
Please do.
Nomonde, because no is a full sentence. When we think once again about the tools to build resilience, moving up the maturity continuum, I speak about the 7 habits so often, and, there's more than 30 million leaders out there that have engaged with that. It is such a fabulous resilience building tool because if you go straight into habit 3, we spoke about knowing what's important. Putting first things first is knowing what is important and what is not.
100%.
When we think about building relationships, we move straight into habit 4, think win-win. Because win-win is not an outcome. It's an attitude.
Absolutely.
And, move into habit 5, seek first to understand before being understood. And as a leader, sequence matters. Them first, then you.
Absolutely.
So seek first to understand before throwing your toys out the cot. I'm the boss and I will make the decision. And when we have those in play, we move into habit 6 of synergy. Then we can have great, high-performing teams, and we allow ourselves that space of habit 7, personal renewal.
Sure.
Right? Where we pull everything together. So, this entire conversation, as we've been going through that, all I could see was, I suppose it's like a carpenter with a hammer, right? Everything's a nail. And it's like, wow, I really understand now why Seven Habits remains one of the most, significant reads and works that people go out for to build personal resilience. Yeah, it speaks to it. I want to get to our close, Nomonde. I could sit here and just
Same.
talk to you all day, and I know we are time poor. And we do want to leave our listeners with some things that they can go back into their spaces, reflect on. What would you say would be some of the things that are must-dos, as they think about their lives, as they lead teams, as they lead leaders, as they lead their families?
Do you know, I was reflecting on this today. So like I said, this week has really, really been tough for me. And I've always been an individual who believes that in the importance of, women advocating for themselves. Because when you advocate for yourself, you're advocating for another woman finding the voice to advocate for herself. And then it just becomes a cycle. We're 10 years down the line, we all find our voices and we can actually advocate for each other. And I realized that even in advocacy, there's a time and a place for it. And it needs to be measured, like as well in terms of like how you do it. And the advice I'd want to give as someone who's gotten it wrong many times and I had to learn the hard way is when you do advocate for yourself, it really should be from a point of what is the outcome I'm trying to achieve from this? But obviously always based on a foundation of respect. And if it's something like advocating for a higher salary because your job has been expanded, utilizing data, not emotion. When you have that conversation of saying, while I appreciate the opportunity you've given me to expand my knowledge base, the initial role profile that I was working with was this. I'd like an opportunity for it to be reviewed in order to include the broadened scope of responsibilities that you've given me, because in addition to what I was doing before, this is now what I'm doing. When you lead with data and not emotion, the outcome of what you're going to get is going to be completely different, because I can't deny that it's true. I've given you more responsibility and I haven't shifted what you're actually earning. So that's just a practical way of how to actually be able to use advocacy in a way that will actually work for you. And over and above that, well, I always, like as a person, I always believe in being truthful, transparent, being able to, in a situation, and this is a lesson from this week, where if something goes pear-shaped and you feel like your person, you yourself, have been unfairly, like the conversation was just unfair, breathe first before you go and actually have a conversation. So all of you need to have calm heads before you engage, because if we're both heightened, it doesn't help in terms of getting to an amicable outcome. Practical tools that I want to give to someone. But again, it doesn't take away how you feel in that moment. It is just that sometimes when you are calmer, you are able to articulate yourself a lot better than when you are amped up.
Yeah.
And this is a reminder to myself from this week. And again, what I would like to leave us all with today is when we go out into the world, regardless of the people you see and the people you engage with, none of us know what each of us are going through and the struggles that I'm navigating through every day. None of us know if it was difficult for someone to wake up because of the demons they're fighting in their own head to actually stay alive. So kindness should lead in everything that we do, because you smiling and greeting could be that one thing that's like, okay, life is actually worth living. And in doing so, I pray that all of us are able to see the God in each other. So when we engage and we talk to each other, see the God in me first, and don't see my physical outlook of what I look like, that I'm not dressed well and I don't look great. My eyeliner is, looking the other way. I don't smile in the way that you like, or, like looking down on you. Don't look down on people. In everything, regardless of how people are packaged and what they might look like or what they may have gone through, I hope that we see the God in each other, because it's only when we do that we can amplify goodness in each of us and just become better individuals. And in any ecosystem, even in corporate, anyone who may be struggling with something may be going through life. So see the God in them and figure out, how do I actually help in that situation? Because hopefully tomorrow someone will see the God in you when you're going through something that requires support and love.
That was just absolutely amazing. I want to summarize quickly for our listeners. So, lead with data, not with emotions. Stop, breathe, think. See the good, do good, be good, go for good, so that, people will see the good and the God in you, and that one little smile could mean the world to somebody that might just be going through life.
Yeah.
Nomonde, this has been such an absolute joy. And I've learned so much from you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of my learning and all of the things that you wish for other women. I wished that upon you as well. It has been an amazing conversation, and I wish we should do it again, maybe many more.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for the privilege of your time, for this invitation. You're such a phenomenal host, and I've taken away so many nuggets. I've loved how you've pieced information together and played it back. So I take away lessons, yeah, and thank you for sharing with me as well. I walk away being more knowledgeable about leadership principles, and I get why you do what you actually do. And to everyone who's going to see this conversation, thank you so much for listening. And I wish you everything of the absolute best in your life as well.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And with that, it's a wrap. And hoping to see you on episode 4. Bye, everyone.